Everyone thinks cabooses vanished from North American trains decades ago, but that is just the surface story. Right now, battered caboose-like cars are still rolling behind locomotives in places you would never expect, directly shaping how freight moves. The truth is the end of the train hides secrets about safety, technology, and survival in plain sight. So, what actually kept cabooses alive when almost every other crude car disappeared? A CSX local train crawls through the east side of Athens, Georgia, on a cool September morning in 2024. The rails vibrate under the weight of boxcars and hoppers, but at the very end of the train, something unexpected clings to the last coupler. A battered bay window car, steel sides dulled by decades of sun and rain, its windows fogged from the breath of a conductor riding the rear. This is no ordinary caboose, but it is not a simple box either. It is a survivor, pressed into service as a shoving platform, a role that keeps human eyes watching when technology alone is not enough. A gloved hand grips the metal railing. The conductor's radio crackles with clipped instructions from the locomotive up front. Clear to shove, keep it coming. The words echo down the line, followed by a sharp blast from the horn, one long, two short. The train inches backward. The conductor perched at the rear, scanning the tracks for obstacles, calling out distances in a steady rhythm. 30 cars, 20, 10. Each shout cuts through the morning air, a living link between machine and man. On this stretch, the Federal Railroad Administration long shove rule demands a crew member at the rear for any reverse move over 1,000 feet. End-of-train devices can blink and beep, but they cannot watch for a trespasser on the rails or a snagged switch. The bay window design lets the conductor stay low, eyes level with passing signals and sidings. No need to climb up and risk a fall during the jolts of slack action. Instead, the side windows frame the world in quick flashes. Graffiti-tagged walls, dew-soaked grass, the distant flash of a crossing gate. Every few seconds, the radio bursts to life again. 5 cars, 3. The horn sounds in answer, a call and response that keeps the whole train in sync. In moments like this, the battered rear car becomes more than a relic. It is a command post, a safety office, and a lookout tower all at once. Most people watching from the roadside might not notice the difference, but for the crew, this car is a lifeline. Without it, the conductor would be forced to ride an exposed platform or trust a blinking box to do a human's job. In Athens, as in dozens of small towns across the country, the last car on the train still carries a living, breathing link to the era when every freight ended with a caboose. The survival of these cars is not nostalgia, it is necessity, written into the rules and practiced every day on real rails. Long before steel and glass towers rose along the tracks, the earliest cabooses rattled behind steam locomotives as rough wooden boxes. In the 1830s, railroads like the Auburn and Syracuse repurposed old boxcars into makeshift offices on wheels. These were the bobbers, 2-axle cars with little more than a bench, a barrel for paperwork, and a lantern for light. Brakemen, bundled against the wind, watched for trouble. And a wisp of smoke from an overheated axle, a shifting load, or a spark that could turn a wheat field into an inferno. With every mile, they climbed out to twist handbrakes, risking life and limb on swaying platforms. A single misstep during slack action, a sudden jolt as couplers stretched or bunched could send a man tumbling onto the ballast. By the 1860s, railroads added cupolas, small raised lookouts perched atop the roof. From the cupola, a crew member could scan the length of the train, eyes sharp for glowing journals, or dragging equipment. The cupola transformed the caboose into a true lookout tower, but it came at a cost, climbing up and down during a moving train, especially when the cars lurched and snapped, led to countless injuries. Dozens of brakemen were lost each year to falls triggered by slack action. Still, the cupola became a symbol of the railroad era. Pennsylvania's N5 class and Chicago and Northwestern's early designs rolled across the Midwest, their silhouettes etched against the sky. As freight cars grew taller and tunnels grew tighter, the Cupola's perch became less practical and more dangerous. The 1920s brought a new answer: the bay window caboose. Instead of climbing up, crews could now sit at track level, watching passing wheels and sidings through angled side windows. The Milwaukee Road in Baltimore and Ohio led the way, and soon nearly half the cabooses on U.S. rails adopted the safer bay window design. This simple shift cut slack action injuries in half, saving lives and keeping seasoned eyes on the rails. Railroad historian John Kirkland put it plainly: the bay window let crews stay low and alert, preventing the fatal falls that haunted earlier generations. Innovation didn't stop there. By the 1960s, wide-vision cabooses appeared. Their cupolas pushed outward for an even broader view. These steel giants stood guard on trains hauling oversized loads, massive turbines, transformers, or anything that stretched beyond the usual clearances. Oddities dotted the rails too: boxcars rebuilt as cabooses, hybrid combines that carried both passengers and freight, and rib-sided cars unique to certain lines. Each design was a direct answer to the realities of the job, shaped by the need for safety, visibility, and a place to rest between towns. The caboose was never just a rolling office, it was a lifeline, rebuilt again and again to keep railroaders alive and the freight moving forward. On the longest and heaviest freight runs, technology gives way to human vigilance at the rear. When a transformer the size of a house rides a depressed center flat car, sensors alone are not enough. Extended vision cabooses with flared cupolas let conductors watch every inch as oversized cargo brushes past tunnel walls and signal masts. A single missed cue can mean disaster. Fewer than 1% of trains today carry a rear crew, but for these missions, nothing else suffices. Security intensifies when radioactive cargo is in play. Since the 1980s, the Department of Energy and the U.S. Navy have relied on armored escort cars, caboose derivatives fortified with surveillance and communications, to guard spent nuclear fuel. They are certified to the Association of American Railroads S2043 standard, and these rolling strongholds deploy with security teams on board. In 2023, more than 100 escort cars stood ready, a silent defense against unseen threats. Firefighting trains, like those Union Pacific sent to the 2021 Dixie Fire, use converted cabooses to direct water cannons. Police cabooses once patrolled against theft, proving some jobs still demand eyes at the end. Steel wheels grind over the rails, but at the end of most freight trains, the familiar caboose is nowhere to be found. By the late 1960s, a wave of new technology swept across the industry. Roller bearings replaced old fire-prone journal boxes, slashing the risk of overheating and nearly eliminating the need for constant visual checks from the rear. Along the tracks, automated defect detectors sprang up, scanning every passing wheel for heat or damage and broadcasting warnings directly to the engineer's cab. Paperwork that was once scribbled at a desk in the caboose moved to computerized systems. The final blow came with the arrival of the end-of-train device, called EOT. Approved by the Federal Railroad Administration in 1983, these compact boxes used air-powered generators to transmit brake pressure and movement data straight to the locomotive. With a single command, the engineer could trigger an emergency stop from 100 cars away. Arbitration between railroads and unions followed. By 1985, the United Transportation Union conceded the economic and safety logic was undeniable. Crews were cut, cabooses retired, and the last manned rears faded from routine service. What once took a crew now rode quietly in a blinking red box, humming at the end of the line. Across the country, hundreds of old cabooses have found new life far from the main line. Some now serve up ice cream beside rural highways. Their red paint faded, but their steps still sturdy. Others have become quirky offices, coffee shops, or small-town landmarks, standing guard in city parks or at the entrance to vintage rail yards. In Duluth, Georgia, a Louisville and Nashville caboose sits quietly beside a line of preserved engines. This car, built for the family line system and later absorbed into CSX, spent its final working days in the heat of Waycross, Georgia. After retirement, it languished in a salvage yard until a group of local volunteers and rail fans raised funds to move it, hauling the steel shell by crane and flatbed truck in 2010. Today, it welcomes overnight guests as a piece of living history, its windows framing the passing headlights of freight trains just beyond the trees. Museums like the Illinois Railway Museum, the California State Railroad Museum, and the Southeastern Railway Museum now care for dozens of these survivors, each restored car a testament to the people who refused to let the last caboose vanish quietly into the past. Cabooses aren't relics. They're reminders that even the most familiar systems adapt in ways we rarely notice. As railroads evolve, what seems obsolete often finds new purpose right behind us. Our infrastructure's hidden changes shape daily life, whether we're watching or not. What else is hiding in plain sight?